Welcome to Trending Unpacked, the show where we explore the stories behind the trends shaping our world. Today, we are putting a major spotlight on the glittering and, let's be honest, pretty controversial conclusion of America's Got Talent 2025.
Yeah, it really wasn't just another TV finale, was it? It felt like it blew up into this massive cultural event, a global conversation, really, that went way beyond just who won or lost.
Exactly.
And, we're not here simply to celebrate the winner. That's not the point of this. We want to analyze the deeper currents, sort of dissect the sources detailing why this specific result fueled such intense, trending debates online. We're really focusing on that inevitable friction, between the audience votes, the judges' professional opinions, and the sheer emotional power of the stories told on stage.
Right. We want to understand the engine behind this whole conversation, the cultural mechanics, I guess you could say. How does a talent show result become this sustained, water cooler topic that lasts for weeks? We're looking at the infrastructure of hype, really, and how those critical conversations about fairness, talent diversity, how they play out now in the digital age.
Mm-hmm. And once we finish sort of dissecting all the applause and the arguments, both on stage and online, well, we're shifting gears completely. Next time, we'll move from the stage to something far more spiritual and, frankly, mysterious as we unpack conversations around the rapture.
Okay, so let's unpack the show's DNA first.
Right.
Before we dive into the specifics of the 2025 winner and why they became such a flashpoint, we probably need to set the scene. The stage is America's Got Talent. And this isn't just any competition. It's a cultural juggernaut, isn't it? A foundational piece of global reality TV. It feels like it's structured specifically to create maximum narrative tension.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Simon Cowell's creation, that's key to understanding why it's lasted so long and been so successful. He built this format that's incredibly robust, it's systemic, and inherently dramatic. It's really designed to build viewer investment right from the very first audition tape you see.
Yeah.
And the journey itself, getting to the crown, it's grueling. The sources confirm this. It starts with those initial auditions where, let's face it, the judges are often just looking for raw potential or sometimes just shock value.
Right, the ones that go viral immediately.
Exactly. Then we hit the judge cuts, and this isn't just, trimming the fat. This is where the system gets really strategic.
How so?
Well, it's the first major culling of the herd, so to speak. The judge cuts are rigorous because they serve this crucial, maybe unspoken purpose for the producers. It's about ensuring production quality, marketability. They filter out the charming acts that are maybe ultimately unrehearsed or just wouldn't work on a big stage.
Oh, okay. So it's a professional filter.
It's precisely that, a professional validation. If an act makes it past judge cuts, they aren't just talented. They're basically ready for prime time. This structure builds momentum, pushing the contestants through the high-stakes live shows, then the semifinals.
And what's really crucial here, and maybe what separates AGT's final act from, say, competitions that are purely about singing technique, is that final moment. The grand finale winner is crowned solely by audience votes. That's the key, isn't it? It's pure, raw, sometimes wonderfully chaotic democracy in action.
That voting mechanism, it establishes this inherent powerful tension right from the start. On one side, you've got the professional opinions from the judges, people trained in entertainment, showmanship, technical skill, experts. On the other, you have the viewing public. And there's sentiment, often impulsive, deeply emotional, maybe driven by a personal connection to a performer's story.
A backstory, yeah.
Exactly. The show works because these two forces are kind of constantly in conflict right up until that final vote is counted.
And what's interesting is just how broad the appeal is. The show's history, it really confirms its ability to champion, diversity of talent. Past winners span the whole spectrum. We've seen incredible singers, of course, but also world-class magicians, highly technical dance troupe.
Quirky stand-up comedians.
Yeah, and really unique variety performers taking the crown. That diversity is kind of AGT's signature, you could say.
And we should absolutely stress, this isn't just about getting a temporary trophy and a check. Many of these diverse winners, the sources are clear, they achieved major careers afterward. AGT is a genuine launchpad for international recognition. It often validates these unconventional art forms that maybe traditional entertainment pipelines might just ignore.
Okay, which brings us to 2025. Now, this wasn't a standard, predictable year from what the sources say. By all accounts, the finale was incredibly competitive. The sources confirm the field was crowded. It featured multiple standout acts across music, dance, variety. I mean, the top 5 or 6 could realistically have taken the title, apparently.
Yeah, it sounds like it wasn't a runaway favorite situation, not until perhaps the very final moments of voting.
Right.
And that depth of competition, it obviously made the final vote highly contested probably quite volatile. But what makes the 2025 winner so fascinating, and really why they became such a huge trending topic, is what the sources identify as a dual victory.
Dual victory. Okay, what does that mean exactly?
It means the performance they delivered was powerful enough to capture both the judges' admiration, which usually signals technical mastery, right, and a majority of those crucial audience votes, which typically signals massive emotional appeal.
Wow. A dual victory. That sounds rare, especially on a show like this.
It is rare. It means the act wasn't just, say, a sentimental favorite who kind of squeaked by on a compelling backstory, nor was it some cold technical powerhouse that maybe failed to connect with the masses emotionally. They somehow managed to bridge that massive, often unbridgeable gap between the expert critique and the public heart.
So they nailed both sides, the head and the heart, so to speak.
Precisely. To achieve this dual success, the act must have pulled off a near-perfect synthesis. They needed that demonstrable technical skill appealing to the professional eye. You know, flawless execution, maybe complex staging, undeniable talent. That had to be there. But simultaneously, they needed massive emotional resonance or just broad mass appeal.
And how did that happen?
Well, it means the selection of material, their stage presence, and crucially, maybe those interview packages leading up to the performance. All of that must have connected really deeply with the casual audience member, deeply enough to compel them to actually pick up their phone and vote.
Okay, I see. And that perfect synthesis, that combination, that must be what immediately ignited the post-show discourse. Because when the professional critics and the public actually agree, it often feels, well, either like a validation of true genius or maybe suspiciously perfect.
That's a good point. The conversation moved instantly from who won to why they won and whether the outcome was truly right in a broader sense.
Which leads us to the debate.
Exactly. The sources highlight three core sort of intertwining elements that fueled this massive debate: fairness, talent diversity, and the overwhelming emotional impact of storytelling.
Okay, let's break down that concept of fairness first, because that feels like the most loaded term in any talent competition, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When people debate fairness, it often seems to boil down to subjective preference, just masquerading as some kind of objective principle.
That's a very sharp point, and it raises the important question. What exactly does the debate over fairness mean here? It's rarely about fairness in the actual voting mechanics. Those systems are generally pretty transparent nowadays. More often, it's about fairness in the type of act that won.
Ah, okay. Like skill versus spectacle.
Kind of. Think of that classic conflict. Is it fair when a powerful, soaring singer, maybe someone professionally trained for years, wins over an incredibly specialized, maybe risk-taking variety act, like, say, an elaborate illusionist or an inventive acrobat whose art form is inherently more precarious, more niche?
Right. The argument then becomes, should raw practice talent always trump innovative, unique spectacle, or vice versa? And the subjective nature of talent just ensures there's always going to be a fairness debate, because different acts operate on completely different metrics of success. Like you said, the circus performer might risk their life. The singer risks maybe hitting a slightly flat note. Those are very different kinds of vulnerability.
And they generate very different types of empathy and judgment from the audience, absolutely. And that leads us directly to the third element you mentioned: the emotional impact of storytelling. For 2025, it seems the winner's narrative, or maybe just the final performance's emotional weight, became a central focus. So why did the story matter so much this year, especially if the talent was already considered technically superior by the judges?
Well, AGT feels designed, almost engineered, as a platform for vulnerability and redemption, doesn't it? Unlike a strictly technical competition where the focus is only on the output, the performance itself, AGT thrives on that connection between the performer's life journey and their talent. So when the winner, the one who secured that dual victory, also had a really compelling narrative, maybe overcoming financial hardship, fighting a specific personal battle, or channeling massive odds into their performance, the emotional investment from the audience just skyrockets.
Yeah, the victory in that moment, it kind of stops being about winning $1 million or a Vegas show. It becomes almost a societal validation of that personal struggle. It taps into this deep, universal human need we have to see someone overcome and succeed against the odds. It's an almost perfect narrative hook for mass appeal, right? It elevates the performance from just entertainment to something like cultural catharsis.
That focus on narrative, that takes us directly into the digital battlefield, as it were. The show ends, the credits roll, but the conversation kicks off instantly online. And the digital reactions, they generally seem to split into two very distinct, highly energized camps. First, you have that powerful, triumphant narrative of pure celebration.
Yes, the immediate fan celebrations are often overwhelming. The sources confirm the driving factor is almost always the winner's journey, especially if they overcame personal struggles. The AGT stage is just ideally suited for this type of redemptive narrative structure.
Yeah.
It often feels less like a competition and more like a collective blessing of a deserving individual.
Right. It transforms a performance into something much bigger than just entertainment.
Mhm.
It feels like a moment of shared cultural release almost.
Mhm.
When viewers feel they connect really deeply with the performer's adversity and their eventual redemption, the victory feels profoundly deserved, like it was meant to be, beyond just the technical merit of the act itself.
You feel ownership.
Exactly. They feel ownership because they watched this person struggle and then succeed on this massive national stage. And this shared emotional experience creates these immediate, unified, and very loud fan groups online.
However, and there's always a however in the modern digital landscape, every great moment of unity seems to spark an equal and opposite reaction. And that brings us squarely to the counter-narrative. The intense online debates. This is where the dissenting voice, the argument that another finalist deserved to win, really starts to gain momentum.
Yeah, the moment the result is announced, you can almost see it happen. The fan bases for the runner-up acts mobilize instantly, especially maybe those who were technically brilliant but perhaps lack the winner's strong emotional narrative.
That's that inherent friction we keep coming back to. Subjective preference clashing head-on with the objective results of a mass public vote. And the losing fan bases, they don't just grumble quietly. They often seem convinced their favorite was overlooked due to specific structural failings, things like unfair voting theories, maybe a lack of appreciation for their specific niche genre, or even just bad editing in their pre-performance package.
And in the 2025 cycle, it sounds like we saw this organized dissent play out digitally with incredible speed, which is what keeps the discussion trending for days, maybe even weeks. The sources specifically mentioned this dissent fueling trending hashtags. This isn't just passive complaining anymore, is it? It's an active collective effort to try and shift the public perception of the outcome after the fact.
Absolutely not passive. Social media platforms, particularly X, formerly Twitter, they seem almost engineered for this kind of rapid organization. Fan groups coordinate their messaging using specific hashtags. They flood the platforms with evidence clips, technical analyses, opinion pieces pushing these alternative perspectives. They highlight the perceived flaws in the winning act or maybe in the voting process itself.
So it becomes a sort of decentralized information war between fan armies.
That's a great way to put it. This collective action ensures the post-show debate is far more prolonged, definitely more intense, and frankly, probably more engaging for many people than it ever was back in the era of just print or television recaps.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting, I think. When we talk about virality and modern pop culture metrics, success isn't just measured by high TV ratings anymore. It's measured by shareability, by the sheer footprint of the show across all these diverse digital platforms.
Correct. The spread of content confirms the show's cultural footprint far beyond the TV set. We're talking about memes and viral clips. The sources identify those as the primary evidence of this saturation. These short, punchy, often iconic finale moments become the essential currency on platforms where, let's face it, attention spans are measured in seconds.
And the platform specificity seems key here. A long, nuanced musical performance might do well as a traditional clip on YouTube, perhaps. But it's the 10-second, emotionally charged reaction shot of a judge, or the single, unbelievable climax of a magic trick that takes off like wildfire on places like TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah, we really have to analyze how each platform contributes differently. TikTok, for instance, it thrives on that short, repeatable, reaction-based content. Often it's not even the full performance that goes viral, but maybe the sound associated with the performance or just a clip of the audience gasping. This allows millions of users who didn't even watch the full show to participate in the conversation, maybe by mimicking the reaction or using the sound in their own videos.
Right. And Instagram, that seems to require a higher aesthetic bar, maybe.
Exactly. Instagram is more about those high-quality visuals of the iconic moment, the perfect pose, the dazzling costume reveal, the moment of peak physical achievement. It's about the wow factor, distilled into a static image or maybe a 10-second visual that demands immediate attention and a quick double tap.
Meanwhile, X, or Twitter, remains the home of the high-stakes debate and the immediate hot take.
Correct. X is where those organized fan campaigns really live, where the debate over fairness is fought out in, 280-character bursts. It's where fans argue about the nuances of the judges' critiques and coordinate their digital outrage or celebration. This multi-platform saturation ensures the show's reach extends far beyond traditional TV viewers. It pulls in younger demographics who might only see the iconic finale moments without ever watching the full 2-hour broadcast.
So the show becomes less of a single broadcast event and more like a decentralized meme generator and conversation starter.
Pretty much. And the conversation stays alive not just because of the winner's talent itself, but because the highlight reel is being endlessly remixed, repurposed, and shared online. And that sharing constantly feeds the ongoing debate about whether the right person actually won.
Okay, let's pivot now to the broader function of AGT in the larger entertainment ecosystem. It's clearly more than just a contest. It's explicitly identified in the sources as a crucial launch pad for international recognition. It seems to completely reshape careers almost instantaneously.
Yeah, AGT functions as this unique kind of gatekeeper and validator in what's become a very fragmented entertainment industry. Winning, or honestly, even just reaching the finale, it instantly confers a level of legitimacy and exposure that might take years, maybe even decades, to build through traditional channels. Touring, small venue performances, suddenly you're elevated to a globally recognizable brand overnight.
And it seems to serve a particularly vital role in showcasing diversity, which goes beyond just typical demographics, right? The sources emphasize that AGT provides a platform for showcasing diversity in talent, meaning diversity of art form. This feels crucial because it gives unconventional or maybe marginalized performers, say, an avant-garde mime, a specialized shadow dancer, maybe a performance artist whose talent just doesn't fit a standard mold. It gives them an entry point into mainstream celebrity they simply wouldn't find on, say, a singing-only or dance-only competition show.
And that links directly back to that heated finale debate we were talking about. The discussion around talent diversity isn't just about demographics, it's about validating different forms of art, different forms of entertainment. When a variety act wins over a singer, for example, it sends this powerful signal out that pure spectacle or innovation or maybe deeply niche talent is valued by the public just as much as, say, mass market pop sensibility. That validation is a huge part of AGT's cultural legacy, I think. And the 2025 debate confirms that this friction, this question of value, is still very much alive.
Okay, now let's try and use the audience vote as a kind of reflective mirror. The sources couldn't give us the specific winner's name for 2025, obviously, but the general outlines of the debate, the success of an emotionally charged performance that somehow satisfied both the judges and the general audience, that tells us something pretty important, doesn't it, about what the public values in 2025.
We really have to ask, what did the voting public prioritize in achieving that dual victory? It strongly suggests, I think, a desire for authenticity, maybe, and definitely an overwhelming emotional connection. Perhaps slightly prioritized over raw, unadorned, clinical, technical mastery.
So, like, technique gets you in the door, but emotion wins the prize.
Kind of. Think of it this way. Technical brilliance is the absolute baseline requirement just to get past the judge cuts. It's the cost of entry, you could say. But it seems to be the ability to communicate a genuine, compelling, and emotionally resonant journey that ultimately secures the public vote. The audience, it feels like, is voting for the person's narrative arc almost as much as, or sometimes maybe even more than, the final performance itself.
So we're looking for high, demonstrable skill, but it needs to be wrapped in a great, relatable story. Does this widespread emphasis on narrative maybe reflect a society that's seeking genuine connection, emotional truth, in a, pretty fragmented, highly curated digital world?
That could be part of it. The audience wants to believe in the journey. They want to feel that victory isn't just awarded based on points, but somehow earned through suffering and perseverance.
That makes sense.
Absolutely. The enduring success of AGT and the fervor surrounding this 2025 finale, it reveals this collective societal hunger, I think. We want to be moved. We want to cry. We want to gasp. We want to cheer. And we want to do it all while knowing, or at least feeling like, the person on stage is someone who reflects the struggles we see or maybe experience every day. That's why the specific format AGT continues to serve as this reliable global conversation starter year after year after year.
Yeah, it successfully taps into these really universal human themes, doesn't it? Ambition, risk, judgment, validation, and ultimately that democratic choice of who gets to be celebrated. It's highly accessible, it's designed to be emotionally compelling, and it's deeply democratic in its final outcome, which allows every viewer to feel like they have a direct say in determining a little piece of popular culture.
So what does this all mean in synthesis for you, the listener? Well, the 2025 winner's success, specifically that dual victory we talked about, winning over both the expert and the public camps, it confirms a vital modern pop culture metric. Technical brilliance. It's the non-negotiable prerequisite for entry into the big leagues. That's table stakes now. But ultimately, in the court of public opinion, it is the compelling, emotionally resonant personal journey, that story of overcoming struggle that seems to seal the deal via the public vote. AGT is the stage where high skill meets deep heart. And in the 2025 finale, the audience proved yet again that heart usually wins the day, especially when it's packaged with undeniable talent.
It's a really profound analysis of how high-stakes talent raw public opinion and sophisticated digital mobilization all intersect. Thank you for helping us unpack not just the result of America's Got Talent 2025, but the complex cultural forces that made it such a massive trending phenomenon. It feels like the finale was less about the specific act crowned and more about the public's complex, ongoing negotiation between what constitutes talent, what feels fair, and what resonates emotionally.
Oh, our pleasure. And we really encourage you, the listener, to keep thinking about what truly motivates a mass audience vote like that. What collective narrative are we all collectively buying into when we choose a winner? And what does that choice reflect about our values right now?
Fascinating stuff to ponder. We will be shifting gears significantly next time, though, moving from the bright lights of the talent show stage to the very edge of human comprehension, perhaps.
Indeed. Next time, we'll move from the stage to something far more spiritual and mysterious as we unpack conversations around the rapture.